Hello, everybody. Welcome to Transform Wellness. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Pete Wisniewski, and this is our 10th webinar in our run, where we help you transform your practice, patients, and healthcare by adding functional medicine services based on the research of allostatic load. In case you missed any of these sessions, you can easily find the replays at transformwellness.org. We welcome you to invite colleagues to listen in on these webinar sessions and join the conversation. These webinars are designed to provide you with a look into the tools, ideology, and marketing that we are successfully using. If you have any questions, feel free to type them into the chat window, or if you're watching the replay, email them to support@transformwellness.org. If you've been following Dr. Hemmer during these past couple months, then you may be starting to realize that he is our implementation expert. He is in the trenches, he is doing the work, and he is here today to share his experiences and tools that he's been using to grow his practice. This week, I asked Dr. Bill to provide a closer look into the tools and concepts that he uses to assess a person's allostatic load and how he persuades his patients to make such profound changes in their health. Now, to understand the budget of starting to do this work, we are providing a white paper entitled Scaling Wellness Products and Services in a Healthcare Practice that you can download for free and use to put together a plan to implement the ideas of this functional medicine series. I want to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Bill for his time and effort in collaborating with our team on this entire series. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming my friend, Dr. Bill Hemmer.
All right, thanks for the introduction, Pete. What a great series this has been. And how about Dr. Rhonda and Dr. Arnett's webinars that they've done so far? Do you believe this is the 10th session of the Transform Wellness series? Unbelievable. And I can't wait to continue to go over and over all of their webinars that they've done so far, because it's going to do nothing but help me help my patients. And remember, all people learn by spaced repetition. So go back over and over all of these things so that you can make this stuff your own. Because as we all know, compensation is where the rubber meets the road. You cannot run a successful practice unless you're being compensated correctly, because really, compensation is the yardstick of the amount of value you create in your practice. The more value you create, the better your compensation becomes. It is not a crime to do well in your practice. Over the last 18 to 19 months, I have been working very diligently to increase the amount of value I create. And because I've increased my value, so has my compensation been increased. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. I've been searching for the functional medicine answer just like you have for the last 27 years. And today I'm going to describe exactly what I have been doing to create more value and to increase my own compensation in my own practice. This does not mean that you have to do the same thing. But if you're considering doing this kind of work, I'm going to describe exactly what I've done and how I am doing it, and then it's your decision to decide if it's something that works for you. If it is, come join our tribe and listen to all of these webinar series and move forward with what we're doing, because we will become the force of true healthcare moving forward. If this does not resonate with you, then that's perfectly fine. You keep looking for your own answers, because that is really what it takes to create the value and compensation package that is going to work for you and your practice. My story begins in June 2013 when I met Pete and he showed me the EndoBalance software project that he had been working on. It didn't take me but about 10 minutes to figure out this is exactly what I wanted to use to move forward in my functional medicine program. So my staff and I installed the software and went through the certification program in less than a week. In that next week, I started using the assessment software, and we have been tracking 90-day cycles in our wellness program ever since. Jay Abraham, the business guru, says that there's 3 ways to grow any business. And in our case, in the healthcare business, there's the 3 things that we can do to make our practice better. We could have more patients, we could have more visits, or we can have more services per visit. The best way to grow any practice is to combine all three of those things and create an entire package for your patients so that then you become the go-to person in your area when it really comes to healthcare. If that patient can come to you and look better, feel better, and live longer, the value proposition that you have just created is going to increase the amount of compensation you're going to get because you are doing things differently and better than anybody else in your community. So, this has always been the template that I use to create a better value proposition and grow my practice. I have better services, better value, so that more patients understand what I'm doing. They come in more often and they get more services per visit because they understand that if they follow my instruction, they will have a better quality of life. So finally, in May of 2015, I was ready to have complete implementation of my nutritional component of my practice, including the functional wellness program that we've been describing. In May 2015, I trended at $68,000 per year, a $20,000 profit just from that specific component of my practice. In June of 2015, I trended at $69,000 a year. But then in July, I trended at $119,000 a year, which is a $70,000 a year profit. Then in August and September, I trended at $109,000 in August and $108,000 in September because I'm getting a brand new parking lot on my office, and they really couldn't get into my office very well because of the construction that was going on. So the trend went down slightly. As of tomorrow, I will be back up and running and I'll be able to continue to market and continue the trend that I started in July. I share all of these numbers with you because this is just one component of my practice, but this is going to be the component of my practice that I continue to grow very quickly. And as you can see, it doesn't take long to get it going once you have all of the pieces in place. And to make sure you put this into perspective, this is just one component of my practice. I have my chiropractic practice. I have a massage therapy business that's also within my office. This is a third component of my overall practice philosophy. I practice in a small town of 4,500 people. We're out in the middle of the cornfields. This can be done anywhere. There is no reason that anybody can't do the same thing. Just like Jay Abraham said, if you increase the amount of visits, you increase the amount of patients, and you increase the amount of services per patient, you are going to increase your overall value and compensation. So who wouldn't like to make an extra $70,000 profit in their practice this year? But the question always becomes, what kind of investment will be necessary to get these types of results? As part of this webinar today, we will make available a white paper that will identify every expense necessary to move forward with this kind of work. Now, the rest of the webinar is designed to explain why we have decided to go this way and how this functional wellness program fulfills all 6 components of persuasion that will allow your patients to see the value that you are presenting to them. I've been a student of Robert Cialdini's work ever since the second edition of Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion, since 1993. And since that time, I have been looking for a functional wellness program that fulfills all 6 components of persuasion. And what I'm going to describe over the next 15 or 20 minutes is how what we are currently doing does fulfill each and every one of those components. Because the largest challenge we all face doing this kind of work is, as I tell my patients every day, if you really want to work towards health, you are swimming upstream based on our societal norms right now. So, if you really want to create that health based culture in your practice, we need to have basic human behavior to guide them so that it becomes natural, it feels authentic, it's not forced, it's not easy, but it is doable every step of the way. The six different components of persuasion are reciprocation, commitment, consistency, social proof, authority, and scarcity. When you combine all six of these components, you have created a situation where influence becomes very simple and it becomes part of human behavior. Every positive patient encounter starts with reciprocity. And what that means is you provide them with a free analysis and a snapshot of their current allostatic load. They really don't understand what allostatic load is, and that's not important in the beginning. What you want to provide them, though, is an idea of where they are at in their current health situation. Because you will do more for them at that point than any other healthcare practitioner has ever done. No one has ever provided them with an overall picture of where they are at. And you're doing this for free. It becomes very easy for them to say, you know what? He has done me or she has done me a great service here. So I am going to, number one, listen to what they have to say. And then number two, see if it makes sense for me to move forward with what they're telling me. The sole purpose of providing them with this free analysis and snapshot of their allostatic load is to see exactly where they are at in their health journey. If they are ready to move forward, they will tell you at this time. If they're not, they won't. A perfect example of that is I had a gal yesterday who I provided her free analysis, and she was at 89% over her current ideal stress level. And so what that means is she woke up every morning with only 11% left in her tank to go through her day. It didn't take but about 2 minutes for her to say, yes, I am ready to move forward and get my life and my health back. I also had a situation this week where I had a gentleman who was only 17% over his ideal chronic stress level. So he was not ready to move forward in looking at making his situation better. And I was perfectly okay with that because now that he understands where he's at and I can support him where he currently is and he's happy with that, everybody wins. This brings me to the second component of persuasion, and that is commitment. It is really your job during the free consultation and the free analysis to get your patients to begin to say yes to the small things. Because then, as they continue to say yes to smaller things, then conditions become right for them to start saying yes to bigger things. And you're doing this not to create a coercion kind of a situation or something where you're trying to do something underhanded. What you're really trying to do is get them to understand that they do have the power and do have the capability to start changing their lifestyle, their behaviors, their diet, their exercise routines, and all of these different things that will allow them to really get where they want to go. And after doing this work and doing these free analysis for the last 18 months, I can tell you firsthand, there is absolutely no problem getting agreement with your patients when you start talking about the digestive matrix and how they know that they don't digest their food properly. And they understand that they have liver issues and adrenal issues. And they know that they wake up in the morning and they don't have near as much left in their tank as they used to. It is extremely easy to get them to start understanding, oh my gosh, you get where I'm coming from. And that's really the whole idea of doing the free analysis. You are painting an overall global picture using the allostatic load concept that no other healthcare provider has ever been able to do for them before. I have this situation almost every time I'm giving this free analysis. They understand, oh my gosh, you've got it right. You hit the nail on the head. It is not just that I'm lazy. It is not just that I'm eating the wrong things. It is just that there is something going on that nobody until you have been able to put a finger on. Now that they understand that there is a commitment involved with this whole program, then the next component of persuasion becomes consistency. And what you really have to do is be able to have a set plan, use specific 90-day cycles, and explain to them that you don't want them to be here forever. You don't want to treat them forever. You want to create specific 90-day cycles that have specific goals in mind so that then over time, they start taking control of their health again. They become their best healthcare provider, and all your job becomes is to provide them with all the tools and services necessary for them to do so. The 90-day wellness cycle is the linchpin of the consistency of this program because each 90-day cycle contains 4 different visits that allow objective measurements to be made so that then they can be compared in the cycle. These objective measurements are extremely important. What they do is they take the personality out of this program entirely. If the patient is working and doing a diligent job at exercising, at changing their diet, at changing their digestive health, at doing all of these different things and taking their supplements, they will see objective change. If they, on the other hand, do not do what they say they're going to do, and they don't make changes in their lifestyle, in their diet, in their exercise, or they don't take their supplements, they will not show objective change. And it really has nothing to do with the practitioner or the staff or the technicians. It has everything to do with that individual. It becomes very easy to measure their ability to follow through on what they say they're going to do. Once all of these objective measures are tallied on each visit, then you can provide the praise that is deserved or the constructive criticism that is necessary for them to do exactly what they said they wanted to do in the first place. It takes all of the subjective and personality out of a program because it really has everything to do with the fact that are they changing their diet? Are they changing their lifestyle? Are they reducing their stressors in their body? Are they having a better exercise routine? Are they drinking their smoothies? Are they doing the things that we have talked to them about, or are they not? And so it is very simple and it's very consistent so that then there's no ups, there's no downs. It is always about what the objective measures have said. Some patients have asked us why we use 90-day cycles. And there's really some very good reasons why we do that. Because 90 days or 3 months or 12 weeks is something that pretty much anybody can wrap their head around. And it allows you to set expectations that can be accomplished in a 3-month period. It is a seasonal change. It is something that is short, but you can still make significant changes if you do what you say you're going to do. The other thing I always tell my patients is, as I've said from the very beginning, we don't want you to be here forever. We want you to take control of your health care. We just want to be your health coach. We want to guide you when you have trouble, but we want you to have a beginning and an end so that then somewhere down the road, a year from now, 6 months from now, 3 months from now, I can shake your hand and say, you know what? You did it. You've done a fantastic job. All of your objective measures are in good shape. Just like that guy who I just talked to, who is only 17% over ideal stress level. You've done a fantastic job. Come back if you need me. Another important reason we use 90-day cycles is it gives us enough time to measure results and to measure change, because in a shorter period of time, it's very difficult to change objective measures very much. The 90-day cycle is also a proven research-based time frame used in fertility, in blood sugar, in hormone balancing. I always explain to people and talk about the hemoglobin A1C test, because most people who have blood sugar issues now understand that that is a 90-day test. And so they say, oh, that is why you're using 90 days, because that is a very common test. And so they start to get it. And then the final reason we like to use 90-day cycles is because it allows us enough time to create some behavior change. As we know, habits are extremely hard to break. If you consistently do something for a 90-day period of time and you used spaced repetition to do it over and over and over and over again, then the likelihood of it actually becoming consistent and become a part of their daily behavior as they move forward is much better. This is the time in the conversation when you walk them through the phases of care, or what I like to call the 3 phases of health restoration. Once they begin to understand the entire process and looking at creating a health picture that they can control over time, it becomes so much easier for them to get on board and understand that it's going to take some time, but they will get where they want to go. Every day when I'm talking to patients and saying, first we have to reduce the stressors, then we have to rebuild the glands, then we can stimulate the glands and decrease the amount of food and carbohydrate intolerances and increase the amount of fat metabolism and muscle mass that you have. And it can take multiple 90-day cycles for this to occur. All of a sudden, the light bulb goes off, and they don't have unrealistic expectations that allow them to just fall off the wagon so quickly. So this is where consistency becomes very important, so that then they understand that it might take multiple 90-day cycles. I'm working with a gal right now who is going through her third 90-day cycle and is still in phase 1 moving into phase 2. But because of the work that I've done over the last 10 months, she is not being frustrated. She is like, okay, I understand where I'm at and I'm working very hard. And I said, yes, you are, and you're doing a great job. But because of all of the garbage and the things that you've been through your whole life before these last 10 months, we just have to be patient. And she is. And she continues to do a great job. The fourth component of persuasion is called social proof. And social proof comes in the form of outcome measures to show progress, just like we talked about in the consistency component. Social proof can be shown in testimonials, in real world examples, and in articles and blog posts that allow people to start to see themselves in these situations and live vicariously through these people and see that they're not alone in their situation and that there is help, because that is really what is necessary for some people to have the motivation to start the process in the first place. The first part of social proof is how you show progress from visit to visit. Is there real objective changes occurring from visit to visit? Are they improving in their vitality, aesthetics, and longevity indices? Is there something positive or something negative that needs to be discussed at each visit, so that then they can see that they need to change or that they're doing just fine and working towards the goals that they set in the beginning of the 90-day cycle in the first place? It is very, very important for people to realize that they are just not alone when it comes to these types of problems. I find myself talking about other patients in general terms almost every progress report. What I have learned is if people understand that there is other people in the exact same boat that they are, having the exact same struggles that they are, and having the exact same successes that they are, then it is so much easier for them to stay on track. Social proof becomes an extremely important motivational tool so that then they understand that we're all in this together and we're going to work together to do the best for them. Another extremely important aspect of social proof is the use of testimonials. And literally, you can do testimonials at any point in the 90-day cycle. You can do it in the beginning, at any of the follow up visits, or at the end. Anytime you have a patient in front of you that is telling you something emotional that is either good or bad or that you've seen a lot of, that you can use in the future to educate your future and current patients, take out your cell phone and start taking those videos. Over time, your library of videos will continue to grow, and you will be able to show any and all of your patients exactly what you're doing, how you're doing it, the results that you're getting, and it keeps everybody motivated and it allows you to create a tribe and let everybody understand that they are not in this by themselves. They are with you and your family and your community and your practice, and everybody is going to continue to improve over time. The fifth component of persuasion is authority. And authority is extremely important, but not in the way that most people think. When you become the trusted authority in your town, you are the only person that really understands functional medicine to the level that we're talking about here. And it is not if somebody is going to get better, it is how fast somebody is going to get better. And it is due to your experience, it is due to your ability to collect 90-day cycles, it is due to your ability to say, these outcome measures and these interventions that we're going to use are going to result in this kind of progress in your situation. When you start to talk with authority and understand these concepts better than anybody else, then who else will they go to? You're also the authority that organizes and trains staff to the level that now they understand what they are doing, why they are doing it, and can convey that information back to you so that you can make the decisions that the doctor is really there to make. What other person is there in your community that has all of this information, is able to collect it in a systematic and organized fashion, and then evaluate and provide guidance? There is nobody. You're it. That is how you become the authority in your area. So, the easiest, most effective way to start to show your community that you are the authority is by doing workshops. And here is an example of the stress and thyroid workshop. And so, over the next couple of minutes here, I'm going to go through some of the slides that we're currently using. And this will give you a much better understanding of how you communicate to your patients, communicate to your community, so that then your ability to be seen as the local authority continues to get larger. So, here is an example of one of the slides we use in the community workshops. Is your thyroid tired? When you're up there and you're talking about thyroid health or adrenal health or glandular health or organ health, people understand tired. They don't understand depleted. They don't understand all these other words that you could use, but they get tired. That is why we use it. Then, of course, the rest of the questions on this slide are designed for the patient to start checking off the list of the different symptoms and signs that they currently have. Do you feel like you are gaining weight all over in uniformity? Do you feel like you're tired all the time? Do you have a low protein diet? Do you have a lot of cellulite that you're trying to get rid of? Do you have a red and dry areas on your face? Of course, we all know that these are all thyroid symptoms and signs that are very, very common. These workshops are designed to help patients understand that you are the authority and that you have the answers that nobody else is going to be giving them. Here's another classic thyroid symptom slide. Cannot regulate body temperature, so they're either cold or hot all the time. They get sugar cravings. They have thin, coarse hair. They're going through so many different problems and emotional issues that they just don't understand, and they go to the regular allopathic doctor, or they have gone places in the past and they said, oh man, I know I have a thyroid issue. There is not one of the doctors that they have seen so far who have given them any kind of answers. They just said, nope, can't be your thyroid. Where they understand that it is, they just need to find somebody who will listen to them and take them through a process that will allow them to fix what's going on with them. And that is you, and that is how you become the authority in your area. This next slide looks at the thyroid endotype. There's different endotypes for many of the different glands. And the thyroid is a classic example of this because, as you can see from the slide, you have the thin eyebrows with the pushed out eyes, you have the poor muscle tone with the cellulite, and then the double lines on the neck with a goiter or without the goiter. So often, I've been looking at this quite a bit lately. You look at people and they will have the double line, which is a classic sign of hypothyroidism. And you ask them if they've had their thyroid checked, and they'll say, "Oh, yeah," and everybody says it's perfectly fine. This is a classic example of subclinical hypothyroidism that you become the authority on and be able to help them better than anybody else has ever helped them in the past. And guess what? They send their friends because, especially if they're a woman, about 80% of those women are having the same problems that this woman is having and nobody is addressing. So, this is how you become that community leader. Now that you have gone through most of the signs and symptoms of hypothyroidism, and everybody in that community workshop understands that they have at least one, if not 5 or 10, of the different signs and symptoms that you're describing, the next thing to do is to explain to them a little bit about what the thyroid gland does. Because once they start to understand, then they can make an informed decision as to what they're going to do next to help them fix the problem that you have now uncovered. The next slide is a perfect example of how you start to explain what the thyroid gland does in very simple terms. First, it regulates metabolism. The second thing it does is it regulates body temperature. So many women and a few men have trouble with regulation of body temperature that is so profound that as you go through and start doing this workshop, you will have people coming and talking to you about this over and over again. But then the next thing you have to talk about is how specific vitamins and minerals are extremely important for proper thyroid gland function. And so you have to go into specific minerals like iodine, like selenium, like magnesium, and zinc, so that they start to understand that once you start pinpointing some of the deficiencies that they have, that you can turn around and help them with it. Then, of course, you start talking about the B complex vitamins that are also extremely important when it comes down to thyroid health. You start to introduce a lot of the functional medicine concepts very simply and very easily, so that then as they continue to understand more about what you can do for them, it becomes just a no-brainer for them to follow through and schedule an appointment with you. When the thyroid gland is under stress, it continues to grow, and it can create nodules, it can become larger, It can create a goiter. It can create that fullness feeling in their neck and they have a hard time swallowing. Once you start to explain that those things under treatment are reversible and that there is many different things that can occur, and so that then they can get rid of that kind of problem that they've had for many of them for years, they really want to talk to you about that. One of the other things we use in every one of our patient workshop lectures is a before and after of a celebrity. And what we do is we have them guess their endotype. So, how about this slide? If you look on the right hand side, he looks pretty good. But if you look on the left hand side of that slide, he's got the red puffy face. He's got the weight gain that's proportional distributed throughout his whole body. He has thinning of the outer third of his eyebrow. Can you guess what kind of endotype you're dealing with here? Of course, it's a thyroid endotype. Is there a person that is going to be in that room that would not like to go from the way John Goodman looks on that left hand side to the way John Goodman looks on that right hand side? It is a perfect example of how you can use pictures and use people that already are known and show, hey, they've made progress. Can't you? This is also another really good example of social proof, because if you look at John Goodman on the left hand side and then look at John Goodman on the right hand side, what's changed? We really don't know. All we know is that he looks so much better, he looks so much healthier, and there is not a person in that audience that wouldn't like the same thing to happen to them. So this brings us to the sixth and final component of Cialdini's persuasion, and that is scarcity. What we mean by scarcity is that when you become the leader in your town, everybody else has to copycat you and follow you, because it is all about being on the forefront and making sure that you're the first one in the door. Because once you start to become the functional medicine leader in your area, then you are the trusted authority. You are the one that has created testimonials. You are the one that has already shown social proof that what you're doing is working. Then it is time to start scaling your efforts. Because once you become the trusted authority and you have the social proof and you start to build your momentum within your clinic, you are it in your town. And really, there is only so much of you to go around. So then it becomes, how soon can you be seen? You are the one that becomes chased instead of you chasing other people. It is a powerful situation, and it is a situation where this is where every doctor that I know wants to be in this situation, because now it is because of their knowledge and their wisdom and what they do, the reason that they're full all the time and they have a waiting list practice. The final component of scarcity is to organize and advertise before any other practitioner in your town. Because now you have the social proof, you have the testimonials, you have become the authority figure in your town because you are disseminating all of this great information that people are just eating up. Use it and start to create that buzz in your area before anybody else does. Because once you are the leader, then it is all up to you to keep that momentum going. And that is my hope for everybody, is to continue to have the momentum of a functional wellness program that will allow you to fulfill all six components of persuasion, so that the momentum you carry forward every day is what allows you to wake up every morning with a smile on your face. So the six components, one more time, are reciprocation, commitment, consistency, social proof, authority, and scarcity. The program that we're currently using fulfills each one of these six components and allows you to use the persuasion to work with your patients at a level that nobody else has been able to do so far. This becomes your unique selling proposition. This becomes what makes you special. This becomes what is going to make you the go-to person in your town. So I hope this makes sense to you guys and you can utilize all of this information in the future, because we need people to use this kind of work so that we can change healthcare and get out of the sickness care business.
Thanks for that great talk, Dr. Bill. So great to hear about the tools and techniques that you use to make such a profound change in your patients. Thanks for all the effort and sacrifice collaborating on this series. I really appreciate it. For all of you out there watching along, please take this opportunity while it still exists to chat with Dr. Bill. Throughout this series, many of you have taken the plunge, and now it's time to get organized and become the authority in functional medicine in your community. Healthcare is going through such an incredible change right now, and I urge you to take advantage of speaking with Dr. Bill and transitioning your efforts to cash-based functional medicine products and services. To book a time to speak with Dr. Bill, go to www.speaktodrbill.com. This offer is only good for registered attendees of this webinar series. Now, before we get into the Q&A, please join us for our next webinar on Thursday, November 11th with Dr. Rhonda Nelson in her presentation, How I Got Over 650 New Patients with a Simple Radio Ad, where she will show us how she markets her thyroid services to the general public. If you cannot tell, we're switching gears from concepts about stress and wellness interventions to a conversation on functional medicine practice management. Next up, we have Dr. Nelson's final webinar, as she shows us how she utilizes radio to drive new patient growth. Then we have Dr. Schipple show us how she practices functional endocrinology on a daily basis. Now let's turn it over to Dr. Bill to answer some questions.